The new Ghostbusters is finally here. After a year war between the general masses that this movie is blasphemy and a sin to the universe, while the counter side favored a new spin on things, the movie is finally here. Before I go any further, let me just say this. I like Paul Feig, if that's how you pronounce his last name. I apologize if that's not how you pronounce his last name. I think he's a great comedic director through his works with Bridesmaids and Spy, two very well done comedies. I think they're some of the best comedies to come out in recent years. Number 2, my opinion is not based on masculine bias. The Ghostbusters being female is actually a nice spin on things, and I respect each one of these actresses through their previous work. Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones, all through their SNL work, I highly respect, and also Melissa McCarthy is generally funny. I neither consider myself misogynistic nor sexist towards this film when I say the movie is not good. The best way I can describe this movie is as if an SNL skit had been dragged out for 2 hours long and nothing quite interesting or funny is really happening. SNL has this reputation for offering some of the best in terms of comedy and sketches, but it has also been well known to make some pretty horrendous choices of what they choose to put on air. Parallels can be drawn here. Paul Feig has made 2 well-crafted films both in Spy and Bridesmaids, and has written several episodes of The Office which are really great, but has now stumbled into a generic summer blockbuster mess. Before I start to anger those who actually enjoyed the film, let me begin with my pros that I found with this movie. The ghosts are actually quite creepy, and it had me genuinely grasping at my seat. Most of us complained about the overuse of CGI in the trailers, myself included, but I have to say the designers did quite an amazing job and actually got me really creeped out at certain points, especially one that was in the train sequence during this film. Like I said, I'm fans of both Leslie Jones and Kate McKinnon, and for me, they stole the show in terms of everyone else who was in this film. A lot of people were in there purely for cameos, a lot of people were in there not really that interested, and some people just didn't seem to be doing that much with their characters. And unfortunately, besides those 2 pros and some quite pleasant cameos in the film, the movie was just stale. I can't stress enough that not only did I not laugh practically at anything through this film, but my movie theater and the audience that was with me while watching the film was completely silent, waiting for more interesting scenes to take place. And the theater was filled with both male and females alike. So generally, no one found most of what was going on that funny. Now let's say the filmmakers weren't truly aiming for an outright comedy. So let's just look at it as a movie itself. By IMDb standards, it's an action, comedy, and sci-fi. Okay, so let's go with sci-fi, because this movie isn't really that action-packed except for the very absolute end. So if we're going off of it as a sci-fi film, it is the most run-of-the-mill sci-fi film with not that much to offer. The characters are just not that well conceived. Kristen Wiig's character is an aspiring professor who realizes her past college years studying the paranormal activity with Melissa McCarthy could jeopardize her likelihood of becoming a professor. Through this, we see arguments and banter between the 2 leads, and throughout the film we are shown their reconnection. By becoming the Ghostbusters, they in turn start becoming friends again. Although it never really feels that way. The connection between the 2 characters is quite weak. No true bond is shown between the 2 except under certain circumstances. Nothing really stands out to show their true rekindling to make it believable, or to show that they really truly had a past. I would have totally gone for maybe a flashback here and there, even though that's very cliche. I would have at least wanted something rather than the stuff that they offered in this film. And that's a constant dilemma I had. The connection or understanding of these characters is not present, of course, except for Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones's character, who seemed a lot more fleshed out and given more to work with the writing for their characters specifically. The acting from Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy doesn't help either. Wiig seemed truly uninterested while conducting dialogue, and McCarthy in general felt bland. Speaking more about the dialogue, it's just so hard to follow. Many scenes consist of non-stop talk about all these complex technology jibber-jabber that really doesn't explain anything. It's mostly filler dialogue to make the characters seem smarter than we are about paranormal. When it comes down to the action and the comedy aspects of the film, I swear I was watching something straight out of the Three Stooges. This reiteration of Ghostbusters features slapstick humor, fart jokes, and overall just a ton of lowbrow humor. I mean, don't put it past me to not enjoy lowbrow humor. I love some of the most ridiculous things of all time. With the property title Ghostbusters, I just expect more. But maybe that was the goal. Maybe the goal was to be raunchier. But it's just such a drastic change from the almost perfect crafting of comedy from the original film. Honestly, it felt as if the jokes were on the title property itself. The writers seemed to laugh at the concept of Ghostbusters rather than creating jokes revolving around the Ghostbusters. It's the classic case of laughing at you, not with you. The charm, magic, and the almost plausible atmosphere once showcased in the original film instead has been turned into summer blockbuster reboot nonsense we have seen so many times in other films, including the almost nauseating cliche of all time with summer blockbusters, the destruction of cities, especially New York. It's truly a challenge to not look at this film as purely a cash grab for Sony and nothing more, with a giant sequel bait after the credits. Everything is played so safe and by the book. No true risks were taken in order to elevate this film past its predecessor and stand on its own merit, especially with Kate McKinnon's character. I feel like her character stood out so much, but still, even with the amount of writing that she was given to work with this character, I feel like they could have taken so much more risks with her. There were so many opportunities for her to really shine, but they just didn't take it. With all this being said, however, it's not the absolute worst thing I have ever seen, as some would like to describe it on their featured blogs or YouTube channels. It's truly not that bad. I just feel like it could have been 10 times better and could have showcased so much more with the potential that this cast, the writers, and the director had. Again, it's not the worst thing that I've ever seen, but I'm most likely never going to watch this movie ever again. I'm going to stick to the original and just have it that way. I give the 2016 Ghostbusters a 4 out of 10. It's truly a disappointment. If you're gonna redo Ghostbusters, make it original and make it different. What they did, or what they thought was original, wasn't really that worthwhile. Again, Ghostbusters 2016, 4 out of 10. If you like the film, all power to you. I very much appreciate everyone else's opinions. I'm sure there's so many people who enjoy this film, and I really wish I was one of you guys, because you know, I like enjoying films. I understand the craft and the work that goes into making films. But I did not enjoy it. I apologize to anyone I offend for saying that, but that is the truth. Thank you, and have a good night.